Hello, welcome to part 4 of Unity third-person shooter tutorial. In the previous parts, we set up the camera, we set up the movement and player rotation. We also set up a basic weapon system, how to control our weapon. And in this part of this tutorial series, I'm gonna go for aiming. How can we aim with our weapon? So for that, I'm gonna start with setting up the animator. So in order to set up the animation movement, I'm gonna be needing to create a blend tree. I'm gonna name it this is a standing normal, so this would be a standing aimed. So we also need another blend tree called crouched aimed, so we could cover both standing and crouch. So these two blend trees are gonna control our player's movement when it's in the standing or crouch mode. Let's set up the clips. It's gonna be a 2D blend tree. The first parameter would be move X and the other one would be move Y. The same thing is happening for the crouch. Move X and move Y. So let's do the standing first. I'm gonna add the clips. We need 5 motion fields for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first one, of course, would be 0, 0, which is in the center of our screen. The second one would be 1, 0. Another one be 0, 1. Here's gonna be 1. Actually, let me see. 0, -1, and 0, -1. Yeah, it should be look like this. So let's add the clips. I'm gonna be standing. Okay. So let's find the idle. I think here it is. The idle. Where is it? That's the idle, and this one would be our right, aimed right. This one gonna be our forward. This one's gonna be our, you see, as I click on them, they get highlighted here, so you could know which one is it. For example, when I select this, the backward one is getting highlighted, and this is the left one. Here it is. Let me test it. Yep, it works fine. Let's go for our crouch aimed. We're gonna do exactly the same thing. We create 5 clips, 5 motion fields. It's gonna be 0, 0. This is gonna be 1, 1, 0, -1, 0, and 0, -1. This time in the clips, I'm gonna go for crouch. Of course, you can use your own clips if you don't like this animation clips. There are a lot of packages with different animations. Some of them are even more realistic and gives you even a lot cooler effect if you're looking for a realistic thing. This is gonna be idle. This is gonna be the right. This is gonna be forward and left, and of course the backward. And here we go, testing this. Yeah, this works pretty fine. Okay, we set up the animator and we need to set up the transition. So we're gonna do this one first. So in all these 4 clips, we need to make a transition to the aimed. So I'm gonna do standing, aimed, that was idle. Now from walk, I'm gonna do the same. Standing, aimed, run, the same thing. And here as well, I'm gonna come back and set the conditions from here because it's a lot easier. This is gonna kind of crazy, and here is pretty easier. We have 4 transitions we made and we're gonna set them up one by one. The first one is sprint. So when we're gonna be doing a transition to a sprint, of course when aimed is true and also sprint is true. Where is it? Here it is. And no, actually we're just gonna do that when the aimed is true. We don't need that condition. That's just simply it. The same thing for the other guys. Aimed true, we uncheck that. Aim true, uncheck that. And aim true, of course. So when we're gonna come back from this, the same thing, we're gonna do a transition to all 4. Walk, run, and sprint. This time when we do idle, let's go for idle first. I'm gonna uncheck that. We need to make sure aimed is false, and if it's false, we also want to make sure the player is not moving. Walk, run, and sprint, all of them are false, so it would do a transition to idle. The next one would be walk, of course, and let's create the 4. And has exit time? No, it doesn't. Actually, we need only 2 for this. One is aimed true and the other one would be walk. If walk is true, then go for walk. Let's do the run. Aimed is false and the character is supposed to be running. Here we go. Oh, this should be false. Yeah. And the last one for this is for sprint. True, and let me uncheck that. Yep, it's pretty good. And let's do the same thing for crouch, of course. We do a transition from both these guys to crouch aimed. So we're gonna do it when, of course, aimed is true. Here as well, aimed is true. And of course we could add an extra condition if crouch is also true. That would be even better. Crouch is true. So we're gonna do this transition. Okay. And when we're gonna come back from this, we're gonna do this. If we're gonna to idle and we're gonna to walk. If first do the idle. If aimed is false, we go back. If walk is false, run is also false, and where is it? Sprint is also false. We go back there. Here we go. And when we go for walk, when aimed is false and walk is true, we're gonna do this one, and we also need a few more to walk. If it's aimed is false, I guess, and running is true. Let me just remove this fella, it's blocking the view. So first one would be this is our idle, and this is gonna be our walk and run, and of course the sprint. We don't have them here, but we might add them later, so I'm just gonna create this so it would be easy later if we ever wanted to add running and sprinting while aiming in crouch, or you know. And aimed is false and sprint is true. Here we go. I guess we're done here. I'm also gonna be doing a transition here when aimed is actually true. Also a transition here, the same thing if aimed is true, and make a transition here if aimed is, we don't need aimed, we need grounded true and crouched true. And the same thing here if aimed is false, if crouched is false, and we don't need the grounded. So if crouched false, we do this. I think we're done here. I'm gonna also be needing to create another layer, and for that layer I'm gonna be needing a mask. Where is it? Here it is. This is gonna be upper body, I guess, and this is gonna be like this. So let's create the layer. I'm gonna name it aim layer and add the avatar mask. I'm also not gonna give it actually I'm gonna give it IK pass, and the weight would be 1. And here we go, and we create an empty, call it whatever, doesn't matter. I'm gonna just go with blank, and it's a blend tree here, blend tree, and this is gonna be our aim. So this aim is I'm gonna open it, and it's gonna be 1D, and it's gonna be based on angle. I'm gonna add the 3 motion fields. So let's say this one is 0, this is gonna be minus 90, and this is gonna be 90. I'm gonna go to the clips, other, or shared. Here it is. So I've all updated this clip, so if you downloaded the previous project file, make sure you download the new ones here for the part 4 of the tutorial, because I changed them a little bit. Use this new clips. This is gonna be up, and it's gonna be down. I'm gonna use these clips. So here we go, making a transition if aimed is true and if it's grounded. And we make a transition back if one of the things happens, if aimed gets false or we're not grounded anymore. Of course, we need to write a code for the ground check. I'm probably gonna do it in the next tutorial part. Here we go. I think we're done with the animator for now. So for our aiming, we need to create a couple of methods in our weapon script. It's gonna help us to get some info, which helps us for aiming. So this is gonna be a couple methods, and I'm gonna start writing them. Okay, we're finished. These two functions gets the necessary data for us. Let's add another function in our player locomotion, which helps us to see if our view is blocked. For example, sometimes you trying to aim, but you also want to check if anything blocks your aiming. For example, if you're too close to a wall, you don't want your weapon just goes through the wall, and it's not kind of cool. But even if you're aiming against the wall, you're aiming at nothing important. So we're gonna check if our aim is being blocked by something or not. If it's blocked, then we're simply just not gonna aim. So I'm gonna create a function, check blocked, and let's see how it works. So we're finished with this method. Of course, just gonna just check our view. Let's go back to our player. Uh, let's actually stay here and check when we're aiming actually. Yeah. So if you remember, we created the player input. We defined a variable called aimed, and it's gonna be true when we're holding down the I guess we're gonna holding down the right mouse button. So we're gonna say I'm just gonna create a boolean here. Let's just say private boolean, and I'm just gonna name it blocked. So here we're gonna say blocked is gonna be check block, of course, the method we just wrote, and that's that. That's gonna check if it's blocked or not. Aiming, do we have aiming here? Yes, we have. Is gonna be, well, we need to check a few things. First of all, of course, we're gonna check the player input, see if it's aiming, then okay. We also might want to create a boolean just in case if we want to edit something and we need the player stay aimed, but we don't want to hold down the right mouse button. Maybe we want to adjust the weapon in aiming mode. So I'm just gonna say aim debug equals to false, and it's gonna be public, or so it's visible in the inspector. So if it's aim by the player input, or if it's aim debug, then we're aiming. Except one more condition: if it is blocked, and actually the block should be also false for the aiming to be true, otherwise it's just gonna return false. So this is gonna be our aiming condition. So let's go, and here we go. And here we're gonna actually create the functions and methods for when we are aiming. So we're also finished with this guy. So let's check out the results. Here we go. I'm just aiming and we haven't set up the weapon. That's why it's not looking cool. So we're gonna go ahead and set up the weapon for this. Remember the aim debug I told you? Here it is. If I check this and start the game, the player would be in the aim mode by default. So I'm also gonna unlock the mouse. It's kind of bothering me. We could also do the debug so it doesn't move when we move the mouse. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set this up exactly like we set up the position of normal. Now we're gonna set up the position of aimed. I'm gonna select the weapon. Here it is under the player's chest, and we're currently on standing aimed mode. So here it is, standing aimed, the position of our weapon. We're gonna change this. Here it is. I'm gonna rotate it, so be careful because as you rotate it, the player kind of changes rotation also with it. So notice where the player is looking, and I want to kind of give it a make sure the weapon points at the direction where the player is looking. So let me look at it in the right. Yes, it's kind of good. I think this is the right spot. Of course, you could tweak it the way you want to. You can play with it as much as you want to give you the result you're comfortable with. So I'm just gonna go with this. Remember, don't exit, copy the pose and paste it after you exit the game. We also might wanna set the elbows. The hands, of course, you don't need to because they work for everything. Let's do the elbows as well. Standing aimed and right elbow. Here it is. I think this is really good. This spot. Yeah. I'm going to copy this. Paste it. Let's do the left elbow. Left elbow is kind of good. Yeah, just in case, let's tweak it a little bit. Just show you how it's done. Paste the values and we're good. Let's apply and let's remove the debug stuff. And also let's lock the mouse, see what's happening. And here we go, aiming perfectly. Of course, we are not going up and down. Let me show you in the full screen. Okay, as you see, we can just go around with it. But we also need to kind of bring the weapon up and down as we look up and down with our mouse, and we're gonna do that as well. uh, also we need to set the crouch aim, because yep, we need to set up the crouch aim as well. I think the standing aim works good for the crouch aim as well, so we don't need to do it again. I'm just gonna copy and paste everything. Right elbow and also left elbow. Let's see the result. Yeah, it's kind of fine. To continue, we need to create a script called, let's say, tools. We're gonna add more stuff to this, but for now we need a function. We need to get the angle between the muzzle, the forward of our muzzle, and the direction the camera is pointing at. So we need to get the difference in the vertical axis. So in order to get angle between two directions in planes, I'm gonna write down this method. This method actually a great method. You could use it for your other projects as well. It's really handy. So we're gonna use this function to return angle between two directions in a certain plane. Also gonna bring it back negative or positive based on which angle that angle is on the downside of the first direction, or the upside of the direction. So to finalize this, I'm gonna go to player animation here, and first I'm gonna go ahead and in the update function, where is here? In here, I'm gonna define I'm gonna update the animator so we could see the result that we expect. Before we go, I'm just gonna create a couple of variables here before we continue. Uh, the first variable is a kind of helper for aim. So it's a float that gives us an aim angle. It actually helps the angle to make sure the weapon is pointing at the location we're aiming at. And the another variable, I'm just gonna go what to name it. Let's say aim helper. Actually, I doubt this is a good name, but whatever. This aim helper you can tweak to get the result you want. I think the 3 is giving me the result I expect. So let's just go with that for now. So what it does, we're gonna get the player camera current angle, which is between, let me see, come on, we're gonna get the current angle which is between here with that we defined in the player camera, the current angle, and we get that. We also add an offset to it, so we could make sure the weapon is pointing exactly at the location that we're aiming at to give us some realistic effect and some cool effect. We also, let's create a aim helper speed. Let's go with 10. I'm just gonna copy this, Ctrl C, and paste it instead of this. So if you're not happy with the result it gives you, you could tweak these two variables to give the result that you want, but these two values I think it's good enough. And let's go ahead and test this, see how it's gonna be. Okay, this guy has a collider, yes it does, and I'm gonna also create a canvas, also add an image. This is temporary of course, to demonstrate the aim location. I think this is good. Yep, and let's make it red. Okay, I'm gonna play this guy. Let's say that's our aim point, and when we're aiming it's a little bit slow, and yeah, we're gonna tweak the variables later, but as you see the weapon is pointing at the location that we're aiming, and it's really cool. It gives us a really cool effect. Let's also check the crouch. Okay, so as you see it's a little bit slow when bringing the weapon for some reason. Let's increase this to 20. Okay, let's uncheck these also. I don't think that was the reason, but yeah. Yeah, I think it's got better. So I'm done for this part of the tutorial. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel to get notified when I release the next videos. Thanks for watching.